Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is the evolution of affirmative action. And we're fortunate to have with us this morning to talk about the evolution of affirmative action, Dr. Sanford. Dr. Sanford is Dr. Sanford in the Department of Sociology at Tennessee State University. And of course, with Dr. Sanford is Miss LaVerne Walker. Ms. Walker is a former affirmative action officer. And of course, Dr. Sanford and Ms. Walker, let me welcome both of you to the show this morning.
Thank you so much.
And to talk about a very, very controversial topic, and that is affirmative action. But I think that we'll have an opportunity today with the knowledge that the two of you bring to this particular topic to talk about how this whole idea of affirmative action, that is having what might be called a level playing field, how this whole concept evolved. And Dr. Sanford, let's start off by having you, and then after you, Ms. Walker, to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of the things that were important in terms of bringing you here, and as well as Ms. Walker, and then we'll get into affirmative action and how it has evolved.
Okay, very good. And I would like to thank you again for having us both here today. This is a very important issue. I am, again, E. Sanford, Associate Professor in the Department of Sociology at Tennessee State University. And prior to being there, I was at Austin Peay, actually the chair of the Department of Sociology there at the University of Montana prior to that, and did a postdoc at Pennsylvania State University. I'm very proud of getting my doctorate degree at Howard University and then out of North Carolina Central University. One of my research areas are indeed in the area of race ethnic relations, medical sociology, political sociology, and family.
Very good.
Yes.
Ms. Walker.
Well, I originally came from Charleston, South Carolina, and I ended up in Tennessee with my degree from Fisk University in sociology. And I went west to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and started my career there as a social worker, and transposed those skills into human resources skills in the aerospace industry in California. I rose from employment representative to employment administrator to manager of equal employment opportunity, affirmative action, diversity there at Northrop Grumman. And leaving Northrop Grumman, I came to Clarksville to be the director of affirmative action there at the university.
And so both of you have been involved with affirmative action for quite a while. Dr. Sanford, what we'd like to do as we explain to the audience this morning, Ms. Walker, what we'd like to do is to talk about affirmative action. And let's have the two of you, with the knowledge that you have, during this part of this first segment, and of course going into the second segment, to talk about what we mean when we talk about the evolution of affirmative action. Exactly what are we talking about?
Well, when I talk about this issue on affirmative action, I always like to put it into a historical context. And I think in many instances we have some misconceptions about this affirmative action policy because the general public, even educators and lawyers, have a misconceived notion about the historical backdrop of it. We've come out here in America of 244 years of African enslavement, 81 years of Jim Crow laws, leading into a segregation movement that then led us into the need to have this so-called equal opportunity or a fair opportunity of access. And throughout that first 100 years, I would say around 1640 is quite unusual, but Dr. Kenneth Stamp, in his book entitled The Peculiar Institution, looked at this 1640 as a time when indentured servitude was present here in America. And at that time, in a unique way, they started to look at people of African descent in a different way because of pigmentation. And from that time on, leading into the Dred Scott case of 1857, the Civil War, leading into another landmark Supreme Court decision of 1896 with Plessy versus Ferguson that made things so-called separate and equal, and we all know it was indeed unequal. That then led to one of the shows that you've done in depth, the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education. And it was out of that time period that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King galvanized the country into this civil rights movement that brought about a lot of change. And with that, people were coming to the table, trying to give some thought to how can we give some type of opportunity to those that had historically been denied opportunity.
Okay, and of course, Dr. Sanford, we're getting ready for our first commercial break. Now, Ms. Walker, when we come back, we're going to have about 8 or 10 minutes, and we want you to sort of, within the same context that Dr. Sanford has laid out, to give some statements in reference to affirmative action, and then we'll have an opportunity to talk about how it evolved. And that way we'll be able to sort of pull all of this together at the end of our third segment. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Is the evolution of